Okay, I'd like to call the special meeting back in at 6:29, and I'll pass it over to Rob. Thank you.
Just to report, the council had a closed session, only discussed the two human resources matter that were on the agenda, including the recent resignation of the deputy fire chief with no further action. In addition, I don't know if the chair of corporate services wants to just speak to the other human resources matter.
Okay, so we note that the temporary leave of absence was granted in the Physical Services Department, which will be filled on a temporary basis by Justin Gervais as a laborer for a term less than 6 months. And in addition, Zach Casista was hired as a permanent truck driver, equipment operator to fill a vacancy. And we welcome both of them to the township. Thank you.
Okay, we have a recommendation, acting fire chief in agreement. The recommendation that bylaw 17-08-990 being a bylaw to appoint an acting fire chief for the Whitewater Region Fire Department and enter into an associated agreement for services be taken, read, and passed. A mover? Councillor Mackay, seconded by Councillor Jackson. And all those in favor? Oh, wait, discussion.
The chair of fire.
Chair. Pass it over to you, Shirley.
First of all, as everybody knows, that we're trying to fill the position of an acting fire chief for now, and the town of Renfrew has agreed to offer the services of Chief Longton. The mayor of the town of Renfrew, I'd like to welcome him, Don Eady, to our council chambers. Thank you very much for the support that you've offered, as well as your staff member, and bringing it to council, I believe, last night, and having that approval at your end. We really appreciate it, and I know that Chief Longton is going to bring a number of years of service. So Chief Longton started as a volunteer firefighter in 1979 with the Township of Horton. He became a fire chief there in 1985, and then in 1988 he went to a full-time fire chief position in Sealy's Bay until 1992, and then from 1992 to present he's been the fire chief for the town of Renfrew. He has a very good and qualified background and a wonderful fire department at the town of Renfrew, and he has been more than gracious to offer his services and the town of Renfrew to allow him to provide those services to us, to the Township of Whitewater Region, while we go through this transition in determining what needs are required for our fire department. So thank you again.
Okay, thank you. And also thank you from the rest of us, I'm sure, too. It's much appreciated, your help, and we welcome you aboard. Any other discussion? So I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? It's carried. Thank you. So move on to Arena's transition update. The recommendation that Council of the Township of Whitewater Region approve the recruitment of 6 additional casual part-time staff to ensure the operation of all 3 arenas. I need a mover. Councillor Mackay, second by Councillor Jackson. Discussion? Vote.
We have some information to share.
Okay, information, I'll pass it to Rob on this.
I'll just start and then pass it over to Jordan, and then Marsha's just circulating a very draft supplemental arenas budget. I should note that just the time frames, you'll recall that the arena manager in Cobden resigned at the end of May, as did the former Cobden Recreation Board, and there have been a few reports back to council. So this transition is kind of happening fast and furious, and has kept Jordan and also Hugh Martin, our new supervisor of arenas and parks, very busy. So just in terms of where we're at, and just in terms of the budget before you, we will be bringing this for formal discussion at the next meeting on September 6th. So a few things we're still working on. One is the salary information, and that's mostly why we're here today, to get council's consent before we move forward, but also making sure we have the proper data and the time. The other one is revenues in terms of potential bar sales in Cobden, and the expenses that flow from that. So you'll see that we need to refine those numbers, as well as sponsorship. So we know that Beachburg has a very good sign program and sponsorship program, but we're also trying to get a better sense of the numbers for all three arenas. So this is really in very much draft form. Marcia, Hugh, and Jordan have been working on it and pulling some information from our partners, Westmeath, Beachburg, and we did the books for Cobden, so we were more aware of their numbers. So just to clarify that, it's that point of information. So with that, I'd pass it on to Jordan.
All right, thanks, Rob. Rob did cover some of the information, but just to bring you up to speed on a few things. Since our transition, of course, we've been allocating the ice in all the three arenas. And primetime ice, of course, being our highly desirable time, generally kicks off around 5 o'clock in the evening throughout the weekdays and, of course, weekends. And it's actually heavily booked this year in all three arenas, so that's actually something that's very positive. Of course, this comes with the addition of Junior B Whitewater Kings, so they've certainly assisted us with the greater ice usage. Ice rentals have began in Beachburg as of this past Monday, August 21st, and we'll be moving towards our ice times in Cobden at the beginning of September, and moving to Westmeath at the beginning of October. Of course, with our transition, the township is assuming some casual employees from the rec associations. So 3 casual flex time positions were created based on the previous staffing. So we came up with an arena attendant, arena operator 1, and arena operator 2. And of course, some staff decided not to return. So with the current growth of our facility bookings, we're looking to fill some of those vacancies to ensure that our facility is appropriately staffed. So we're looking to fill approximately 6 positions, which will be a variety of operators and attendants. So this is extremely important with the loss of some employees and, of course, some of the facility rentals that have been gained. So we'd like to ensure that we can train our staff and get them into our facilities before they actually start their position. In addition to this, of course, we're in the process of identifying some capital projects, which will be brought forward for the 2018 budget discussion. And any of the 2017 budget discussion that was approved at the Cobden Arena has been underway and will actually be completed prior to the start of the season. Do we have any questions? Yeah. So some of the capital items that we did work on at the Cobden Arena was installing some rink boards. So the installation of this has been completed. We also had some work extension done on the players bench as well as the penalty box. We're almost in completion of that. We're just in the painting stages as of right now. With the Cobden Fair moving into our facility, they'll be put off for a few days, but of course will be done at the end of the month. We also have a newer sound system and an upgrade to our mixer that will be installed in the penalty box by the end of September or of August as well. And then we have some electrical upgrades, which will include some heaters, and that'll be completed by the beginning of September.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Jackson?
I guess with the opportunity to amalgamate sort of thing all 3 arenas, I have a couple of questions. Is one, is Huey going to be included in the overall time period to maintain the different arenas? And 2, the people that we're hiring, 6, and the previous employees that have come back, are they going to be shared amongst the arenas so they don't take that ownership, as we've seen in the past, of the arenas themselves, so that they're spread across the 3 arenas rather than just dedicated to one? It's just a question that I have. I think it would be better if it was spread across, so that they would be more to attune that it's Township of Whitewater region rather than an individual arena.
Absolutely, good question. So right now with our transition, of course, it's a learning process for all of us here, and what we're going to be, any staff that we hire moving forward, they'll be trained at different facilities, and of course they'll be filling in the gaps where we need them. And if you can just repeat the first question.
And Huey, so he's going to be included in the mix, that he's going to be running the Zamboni thing?
Yeah, absolutely. So he's a So he will be a working supervisor. So of course, in the event that a staff person calls in sick, we can't fill the position. Hugh and I have had that discussion, and he's more than prepared to certainly get on the Olympia the Zamboni.
So what are his hours? Does he work nights, or is he working during the day?
So he's
I just don't want him to be just in the day and then fill in as overtime. I vision that this person is going to be a working supervisor and not just to fill in, but actually be at the arenas, I'm hoping.
Yeah, absolutely. So he is going to be a working supervisor. He will be working flex time, and it'll be based on scheduling. So if we see that we need Hugh from like a 12 till 7 kind of shift to compensate, as opposed to working 8 to 4 and then putting in overtime, we'll schedule that accordingly with him.
Councillor,
I could just add, and I understand, Jordan, as well, that he'll be doing some checks on each facility. So his main office will be in Beachburg, which is close to home, but he will be checking the plant at all 3 facilities. And part of it is understanding the current kind of skill set and experience that we value that we inherited from the casual workers, but who has general refrigeration, who has the proper training, and as we bring other pieces into the mix, the new additions to the team, what are our gaps in terms of training and succession in terms of ensuring that the plant and the ice and everything is working properly. But Hugh will be going to all 3 facilities.
Councillor Olmsted?
Yeah, if you know Hugh well enough, we'll probably have to buy 3 cots for each arena. Hughie does take an ownership responsibility if you've been in the Beachburg facility. He was there evenings, weekends, mornings, 8 a.m., and I see no different in his new role. I think Hughie will be giving all kinds of hours and on his own time. The one question that I have, and I like Councillor Jackson's comment about ownership and really bringing Whitewater to the forefront. Have we given consideration to uniforms, and it doesn't need to be now, can be down the road, but ensuring that there's some sort of a Whitewater presence on all the employees versus a Beachburg, Westmeath, Cobden?
Yeah, absolutely. That's actually a discussion that we have had earlier, and it's something that we'll be moving forward with at some point in time to kind of decide, what their actual attire will be, whether it be, a sweater or a hat or something. It also helps with identifying people as well, just in the arena, so they can just be easily picked out. So,
Councillor Jackson?
While I appreciate Hugh's, what he's done in the past, I don't know how he was paid by the Beachburg Recreation Association, whether it was contract, whether it was hourly or whatever. I just want to make sure that we don't have a lot of overtime. I mean, we were kind of hoping that this would, the way it's worked out, that the arena should be able to pay for themselves, and we don't want Hughie working a whole lot of overtime and running himself ragged either, but that he has regularly scheduled times that he knows where he's supposed to be and when, sort of thing. That's my concern about Hughie, because I know he will go over the top, but I just don't want, if something happens, that, that we're then seeing a claim for hours worked at a later time. I've seen municipalities where they've had people do on volunteer basis extra time, and then things not go so well, and then they look at getting paid for those so-called volunteer time. So I think we have to be very clear in what we allow our employees to do, and that it starts at the beginning, unfortunately. And I appreciate Hugh's passion for recreation. He's a great guy, but I just want to make sure that we're on top of that as well. And you too.
Okay, any other further discussion? Councillor McLaughlin.
It's probably not discussion, it's more clarification. Jordan, when you spoke about new people being put into the mix, is everybody going to be put in the mix? Is that the intent?
Are you speaking about just kind of being trained at all different facilities?
Yes.
Yeah, so
and moved around to the different facilities.
right, so right now, just with the transition, You know, it's a learning curve for a lot of us, and so some of the people that are coming from the rec associations actually know the facilities quite well. So moving forward right now, what our plan is that anybody that's hired new will be trained in all the facilities, and then of course they can be scheduled into the gaps. So in other words, yes, so as we will get there, but right now the new staff will be trained in all facilities, and then once we kind of see where we're at, then we could start lending other staff with other expertise to other facilities. That answers your question.
Yeah, I'm much like Councillor Jackson. I want to see everybody moved around. I understand where you're coming to start with, but definitely in the future, I would prefer if people were in all 3 different facilities, so we get a Whitewater realization of our rec association. Is that?
I think it's a good idea to move them around, but I think some people just want to have a part-time job. That means you have to have a vehicle. That means you have to go from one facility. So that's going to be problems there too. Yeah,
absolutely. And he actually brings up a really good point. Some of our staff actually don't have licenses either. So some are, they're going to be set at a specific arena just because they're within walking distance of their homes. So.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor? It's carried. Now, make a motion to go back into closed. Okay, I'm going to make a motion to go back into closed session. Just give me a sec here if I find it. The recommendation reads that the Council of the Township of Whitewater Region move into closed session at 7:46. Thank you. Pursuant to Section 9.1A of the procedural bylaw to discuss a legal matter, litigation, or potential litigation with the CAO clerk and treasurer deputy CAO remaining in the room. Have a mover, Councillor Rieger, second by Councillor Mackay. All those in favor? It's carried.